I'm kidding. Maybe try to pull it up. Let's see, where is Board of Education? I hadn't even looked since we've had the new one on there. Is it? No, I really.
You weren't so excited.
Hey, listen, I was more thinking about going on vacation.
Thanks. I think.
I knew it had to be something. Well, they're doing supposedly on the CW on it. Was it something called it? No, is it the other guy, Chris, involved in it? I don't know nothing about it. Play basketball. His son played basketball. His son, he might have him involved with that, and Chris promoted it. Let me do this. Well, supposedly they're doing something that Lonesome Pine, they got it up there, and the CW is supposed to have some show. It's supposed to start maybe when they get to anyway, I don't know, it may be a joke, but I didn't know. I thought it was kind of cool, absolutely. A lot of these kids, they're trying to do every angle they can do. Keep moving. Listen, it don't matter what you do, from how good you drive, that's it, brother. If you ain't got, and let me tell you, you 100,000 don't get you no place. You got to bring it.
Came, so y'all have to read everything to me.
Just listen.
So you remembered them? It's hard to read.
Larger print.
So irritating.
Yes, and it's hard to read.
that
You guys ready? Y'all
Yes,
ready?
absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we've lost the other Corey.
Hopefully all these polishes she can just kind of group. I always rely on Doc May on these polishes. Those red flags he usually finds.
Yeah.
He's pretty good on these polishes. I looked them over.
We're going to be here till midnight. Don't ask. Don't ask.
Good evening. We'd like to, I probably got to turn this around. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the June Elizabethton City Schools Board of Education meeting. So you're the only ones not on vacation? Is that how this is working? And then very excited to have our teachers from Camp Read a Lot here, and they're going to be talking in a little while. But if everybody would please stand, Dr. Gardner is going to lead us in Pledge the Flag in a moment of silence.
Okay, let's have our moment of silence. Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. As no one asked to be placed on the agenda, we're going to move on. So now it's time to approve the consent and regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Well, if you looked at this, did you cry? It was like, so here's some thoughts, because we can make this a little manageable if you guys want to. It's what everybody wants to do. We can take items 8 through 13. These are bids for food. We typically take those all at one, and we can do that again unless there's something you particularly want to talk about. Also, items 18 through 20 are professional services. We can take those individually. We could also vote on those together. And then, if you're feeling really excited, we can take items 21 through 34. These are all housekeeping items. If you read through on our information, basically these policies are going to reflect new laws, so you know, they're first readings, one's a deletion. We can kind of put them all together, pull out any we want to talk about to make this a little bit more manageable, or we can go through the whole thing. So you guys tell me what you want to do.
Do you want a motion or?
Well,
I
let's
would
just
like to
figure out.
amend the motion to make 8 through 13 become part of the consent agenda. Those, we've never changed the food suppliers, have we?
I was going to ask, are we changing food suppliers? I know you went on a field trip.
No,
Just
this is
ratifying
just,
the
these are just
contract.
people who bid for it, just
Okay.
our regular
So
cafeteria.
that doesn't have anything to do with
Nope.
this? Okay.
Nope, that's just normal. Okay. So you want to amend it to take 8 through
8 through 13 and move them to consent, so
Okay.
we don't have to discuss them, unless someone wants to discuss them. And
Sounds good. And then you're going to take 18 through 20 and 21 through 34.
If you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
Everybody, and, you know, we can talk about them as, when those items are available, but, I mean, when we're discussing them, but I think this might help us get through this a little bit quicker, so.
So are you saying amending the other two to also go with Dr. May's motion to put all of those on the
No.
No,
consent
I was
agenda?
just clarifying. No,
Yeah.
just clarifying.
So we're
No,
gonna.
8 through 12, or 8 through 13 's
13 would
all
go on consent.
for consent.
Mhm.
Yes.
And then we're going to take 18 through 20 as one, and then 21 through 34. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Then we can
if
discuss.
anyone wants
Yeah.
to stop and discuss a
We can still
particular one,
discuss it.
we'll still
Absolutely.
discuss that particular one.
Okay.
And we can then move on to other ones and try to discuss everything at one time, and then, so we're just gonna have one discussion time for a lot of items.
That way we don't have to continually do the voting and all that stuff, so.
Okay.
All right. So if everybody's okay, item on the floor is to approve the consent and regular agenda with changing or moving 8 through 13 from regular to consent, and then taking 18 through 20 as one item and 21 through 34 as one item. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Dr. Gardenauer.
Okay, Ms. Hartsook, if you'd like to come up and bring your clan of people for Camp Read a Lot, we'd love to have you.
Oh, no, you have to come up here and have your picture made at some
Oh,
point,
yes,
so.
that's going to happen.
You're not getting away with nothing yet.
All right, so move this down a little bit. I'm here this evening to give you more information about our exciting summer reading program, Camp Read a Lot. Some background information regarding the grant that we received to fund this program. In 2017, the Tennessee Department of Education, in partnership with the Tennessee Department of Human Services, invested $30 million for the next 3 years for the Read to Be Ready summer programs. Because of this funding, Elizabethton City Schools was able to apply for the summer grant. This year, 3/4 of districts in Tennessee applied. However, we were one of 212 recipients who received the grant, and our total amount awarded was $33,936. With that amount, we funded Camp Read a Lot with 2 goals in mind. We wanted to develop comprehension, vocabulary, and foundational skills, also to develop a love of reading and writing over the summer months, during which we call that the summer slide, where students are not really engaged in meaningful reading and writing activities. Our camp, which is housed at Eastside Elementary, began on June 5th and will end this Friday. Our hours are 8 to 12, and we serve a total of 30 rising first, second, and third grade students. Those students were selected because they were not proficient in reading and writing. They also met a socioeconomic need as well. They are provided snack as well as transportation to and from camp daily. Our program has provided students access to rich, authentic literacy opportunities, and as you can see in our slideshow, as well as provided a multitude of high-quality, high-interest texts and literacy experiences. Students have completed a writing journal, participated in STEM activities, as well as learned information about different environments. Our camp had an overarching theme of a reading camp and the camping experience. With students visiting different environments each week, our themes included camping, a safari, ocean, and outer space. We wanted our children who are mostly socioeconomically disadvantaged to feel as though, even though they were giving up their summer, they were still having like a little mini vacation. We also have hosted an open house for parents as well and had several partnerships in the community. We have partnered with Barnes & Noble, and my teachers have absolutely loved our Barnes & Noble days, where we went on a field trip and students were allowed to pick out books of their choice, which doesn't happen much with the children that we are serving. We also partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank to provide snack, Farm Bureau, and with Miss Cagney Bennett, who is Miss Preteen South Atlantic United States. Through her pageantry work, her platform is early literacy, so she was able also to bring us some Imagination Library books and partner with them as well. We've also had some special guest readers in the community, like the Elizabethton High School cheerleaders, and they're always a hit. So, at our camp's conclusion, students will have taken home 22 rich texts to create an at-home library free of charge. So that's been a very important part in this program. A pre- and post-motivational survey, as well as a running record assessing students' reading ability, have also been administered, and we hope to receive that data back at the beginning of the 2017-18 school year, just to determine our overall effectiveness in the program. Do y'all have any questions?
Other than to say that I would like to say the teachers that have been involved are some of our best, and they love kids, and they're there, and I think that Ms. Boer was able to come and look at what was
Yes,
going
thank
on
you.
Ms.
today.
Boer's getting ready to gush over what I
And
saw.
she was amazed, but it's just good instructions, good relationships that they've been able to make. So we're proud of you, and thank you for writing the grant
Thank you.
and being so involved in doing that.
It's been a pleasure. If you had
So-
told me that giving up my summer as a teacher would have been a positive experience, I may have answered differently. It's been a pleasure, and I really do mean that. I've enjoyed every minute of it. To see the kids get off the school bus and say, "Is it Barnes & Noble Day? Do we get books today?" Or, "What are we going to do today?" And they run in. I've not seen kids run into a school in the summer ever in my career. So to see that is very, very exciting, and it's worth it. So thank you all.
Is
Well-
it still going on? Or are you finished?
We finished Friday.
Okay.
And if you have time, I really recommend that you pop over there one morning. Teresa told me I needed to really come over there and see this, and so I went this morning. I could have stayed all day. It was so fun. The kids wanted to talk about what they were learning. The classrooms were decorated just so that it was amazing. You really felt like you could tell what each room was, the theme. It was visual. The kids were very interested in what they were doing, and they wanted to tell me everything that they've learned. And they were showing me the books that the children are going to be taking home. These are not like little cheap, dinky books. These are really good, great books. And I'm just, wow, this is something. Thank you all.
All right, we need y'all for a picture. We'll make sure that
So
we
y'all look really pretty.
recognize you. Come on up here.
We did get out of our camp clothes.
You did get
for
out of your
tonight.
camp clothes.
We did. We've been casual, but it's
Oh, you've been camp. Thank you all.
Okay, I wanted to take a little time tonight. And if the board, I gave you all a little packet of information. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about an issue we have with federal funding. I think you probably have read recent news reports in other school systems as well as ours. Kingsport just recently had a story this past week of the same type of thing. You know, they're looking at what's going on with the federal budget, proposed cuts, how are we going to continue programs, you know, how are we going to make sure that we have the same level of service that we've had in the past. And so I'm going to propose to the board that we look at studying this for the next year and really look at some of the different options that we might have and try to come up with some answers, because in my opinion, at least, and I'm not saying anything political, but I think just generally we've gone from a more, we'll say this, President Obama was probably the most generous president for education in history. And so now we have a conservative president, and I think that what's happening is just a different mindset and a different thought about how to run programs. And and I think the biggest entitlement program in the United States, not entitlement for, and maybe that's a bad term, but the biggest entitlement program is probably education, because it is something that our government provides. It is an entitlement for everyone that everyone gets to participate in. And so when there are cuts to federal budget, that's something that we have to absorb and talk about and try to make sense about. I want to explain a little bit about how federal funding works. First of all, you know, money is divided into several different pots, and those pots are used to help educate our children in lots of different ways, anything from homeless students to curriculum to some personnel to Title II programs that help train our teachers. The federal funding is absolutely essential for us to be able to operate as a system. One of the things that federal funding also does is that it helps level the playing field between schools that have a high population of needier students financially and what we would consider to be students that are on free and reduced lunch, to try to level the playing field so they have resources and opportunities the same as schools that may not have that issue. And federal dollars are funded and distributed in what's called a spiral. Now I'm going to say three terms that we'll try to consider over the next year and talk about. The first term is called non-supplanting maintenance of effort, which means that we have to keep a level funding, at least that or more than what we spent the prior year, but also at the same time not supplant, which means that we cannot take dollars that we have that we would normally spend federal dollars on and use regular dollars to supplement that. So we have to supplement those dollars, spend the same amount of money and supplement the dollars rather than taking those dollars and trying to do the bait and switch. So that's the first term that we need to look at. Second term is looking at comparability. So based on the amount of students who are free and reduced lunch, in that we have to make sure that we have comparable services for all students within the district. That means that we can't take general purpose dollars and put them in just wherever we want to. It has to be done in the spiral. If we have a school that has a large population of free and reduced students, they obviously would need to get the most money because we have to level the playing field there more. And if we have a school that has less, we would put less in there. But we can't just take money out of our general budget, pump it into a school that has less, because what we have to do then is we have to then supplement the other schools at a higher dollar amount to make sure that that all works out. So if I gave Westside, which is our lowest population of free and reduced students, if I gave them $100, I would have to give Eastside $200 and Harold McCormick $300 based on how our spiral works. So if Westside, for instance, needed $100,000 to buy 2 teachers, I would have to then double and triple that, and that would equal our entire fund balance. I'm sorry I've had to read off about that, but we'll continue moving forward. Next thing is we have some current issues. Just based on cuts that we've had this year in Title I, we've had a 15% cut this year, and it translated into about $85,000 that was just cut from our regular budget that we've had. That's a much larger cut than we've had in recent years. In recent years, we've had about a 3 to 4% cut, but still in the last 5 years, our Title I funding has been cut between $250,000 and $300,000. That's not any fault of anyone's. It's not mismanagement of money. It's just based on how things are kind of, the pendulum is starting to swing back in the other direction to be more conservative. Something special about Elizabethton also is that our preschool, parent involvement, and homeless programs all combined, that we take a set aside off the top, that's about $147,000. So if you figure that our budget right now is $613,000, we take $147,000 off the top, that leaves us with a smaller pot that we can use to help service children. This year, something special has happened. When ESEA was put into place, there was a grandfathering clause that came along with that. That meant that any time that a school reached 40% ever in its history, it would be automatically grandfathered in, and you could use that as a Title I school-wide school. What's happened is that the new ESSA that we currently have has changed that to say that if we have to maintain 40%, so we can no longer grandfather Westside into the numbers that we've had. So that has caused us to have to look at cuts for this coming year. And that's about 2.5 positions for this year, which is our reading and math coach and our, well, we've added back our computer lab assistant, but that's still something that's been in jeopardy. Their general dollars that they were going to use for this year's budget, they'll lose about $125,000. So that doesn't account for what's going to happen in the other areas of the federal budget, such as Title II has also been rumored that we will have cuts there. We have about $77,000 there, and truly after we look at some of our numbers, we're really about 61 after we take the money off the top to service those other programs. But that has also been proposed as a cut at the federal level. Title IV has been cut. We were looking at possibly getting $23,000 to $25,000 there. That was student safety, school safety. That's been cut as well. And so we know that we will not be receiving those funds. Now, I would say that as we look at our budget moving forward, I do think that we still need to make sure that we're allocating money towards safety. That's one of the most important things that we do for our students, and we're going to try to economize other places to make sure our students are safe. Plus, Becca is working on some grants. She's looking for monies to help us with SROs and other things like that. The last thing I'll say about funds, and I know this is not, it's kind of a bleak picture, but the last thing I'll say about funds is that in the future, in the next 5 years, we're going to have to make some serious decisions about what we're doing with our funding. I believe that we're managing every dollar that we have successfully right now. I think that we stretch every dollar where we can, but I also know that with the imminent cuts that are coming from the federal government, and I think there will be more, that we have to have a plan, because it just doesn't affect this year. I can't come into the funding and say, okay, this year we've had a cut and we make up the money. We have to have enough money to flow through from year to year to make sure that we have enough money in the bank to pay the bills as we move year to year. So we're going to have to be pretty conservative to try to make this work. The next thing is what have we done to kind of mitigate these issues this year? Over the last 2 years, knowing that we had to have flow-through dollars, we have cut 4 positions and 1 paraprofessional staff position to make sure we kept with the times. We did apply for a waiver at the State Department of Education and to try to continue being grandfathered in, and that was denied by the State Department. We looked at ways that we could possibly look at in the future, preparing for the study for this year. Could we look at rezoning and redistricting, as a possibility? The board, thank you for approving our transportation study, because we want to look at how we're transporting students and what we could do in the future to make sure that we are making efficient use of that money. And thanks to the board members and Becca and everyone that served on our enrollment enhancement committee, a lot of our administrators, we have introduced our new Cyclone Connection that has been an opportunity for parents from the county to come in and try to become acclimated with Elizabethton, and that's been hugely successful. So that's another thing we've done. And also, Dr. Newman and Becca have written a large grant, and we're waiting to hear on that by June 30th, whether we'll receive that or not. So we're really trying to look at some ways that we can start operating, start looking now to make sure that we're in the best position possible in the future. One of the things we know that we have to do, and I know this is a very important, but it seems non-significant but very important thing. We need to do something. We cannot coerce any students to bring back their free and reduced lunch forms. We can't do that. But what we can do is do something positive for all the kids if they bring them back. Can we have an ice cream party for the, whatever we need to do to say we need to have the opportunity to get these back, and try to communicate to parents how important it is that they, even if they're not going to use the service, they still need to apply for free and reduced status. And so we've changed this year. Ms. Simcox has changed to an online parent form. All those forms that we've had in the past that are paper are now going to be online. And we've put it in a way that they're going to have to go through that process. They can still deny that, but they're going to have to go through that process. So we're hoping that that will take out the argument that we may have more students there at Westside that are actually free and reduced lunch, but they haven't filled the forms out and returned them. And really rezoning, looking at that as an option, we will look at that also, redistricting and rezoning as an option to make sure that we have an even playing field there. What's been considered, and that I would put the board for study this year is that we have brought up the idea in several past board meetings, I don't know how many, several, of looking at a pre-K 1, 2, 3, and a 4, 5 school. And that's a large change for our town. But I also know that if we're able to do something like that or consider it, I know that the threshold at every school would more equal what our district average is, which is higher than 40%. And that, although when we look at it, we'll have to look at numbers once we see when students return for this year, we'll have to look at numbers again. But I know that it would help solidify funding for the coming year. And when we're looking at federal funding losing $200,000 or $300,000, think about our general fund balance is only $600,000 to $700,000. So when we're looking at those funds, that's a big amount of money to us. And when we talk about money, money is programs, money is things for kids, money is what we need in positions that we need to coach teachers and students for what they need. So I think the benefits of possibly considering that in the future would be that there's far more benefits than just financial. It would help us put students together, teachers together at grade levels. It would allow us to purchase more things that would help students. It would help us differentiate instruction that we need in a larger way than we've been able to. And that's just one option. There's lots of options. And one of the parts of this is we want to let the public know that we're willing to listen to what they have to say too, as a part of the process. And we want to be transparent about what we're talking about and make sure that we're considering parents, their needs, and also the needs of what we need to do with their children. I'd say in the last part of that is that how are we going to communicate to parents? And I think that we have our Facebook, we have our new website, we have our board meetings, we have other opportunities that will come as we discuss different parts of it. But we'll try to keep everyone in the loop. It may be that the best thing is not to do anything at all, but I feel like our best option is to really start considering taking action in this next school year, because cuts are coming, and I know while we have time to make decisions, I think it's better to make decisions. While we have time to talk with people, it's better to do that rather than just say, well, this is the way it's always been, and we're going to lose this funding, we're going to lose this opportunity to make a decision. So, it's not something that's happened overnight. It's something that we will definitely be considering over this entire school year. So I look forward to the discussion, and I look forward to trying to find some answers, because we've been brainstorming for quite a while, trying to think of how can we get this, this handled, this tackled, because it's something that no matter whether we like it or not, it's here. And so, and we still have to make the same gains with students that we did before. And so we'll continue to work on that. Okay? All right. Go ahead.
Corey, I appreciate all the work that you've done being proactive. It's obviously a tremendous number of hours that you put into this, but I think you also have to remember that this budget is not passed yet. And if we are proactive lobbying and talking to our legislators, I think we have a good chance of turning this around. But I appreciate the fact that you've got an insurance policy here, but I don't think we should give up yet.
I don't think so either. I mean, I think we just have to kind of time it, and maybe we'll look at our discussion as time goes, and as things change, as we always do. As things change, we'll change our discussion. And it may be that we have some people out there that are going to come in for the common sense and say too many cuts at one time is very difficult to absorb, and we'll hope that things move in our favor.
Have you talked to our legislators lately, or?
Yeah, I was talking with one, and he happens to have a daughter-in-law who's a teacher, so she's been leaning on him pretty hard. So I hope that that's going to help us.
I would, what Susan said is exactly right. We, through TSBA, they contact us when they need us to contact our legislators. And they get very few phone calls and not what you would think. So your voice matters. So call and just, ask for them to, maybe not cut quite so heavily. We can always do that. Also, something when Dr. G and I were in Nashville for the Day on the Hill, one of the legislators said something that really has resonated with me. When you call and you ask them to help you, and when they follow up, it's nice to call back and say thank you. He said that he's never had anybody thank him. That, and I thought, gosh, that's true. So, this is kind of one of the things that I've been on the board for 11 years. We are not a reactive board. We've always been proactive. And I like the fact that we're going to take a year and just study because, like you said, the budget hasn't passed, and so we're going to know something soon. But we also know that the pendulum is swinging this way, and we do need to have some things in place that, depending on what happens, that we're ready. I think that has served us well in the past because rather than digging, burying our heads in the sand and hoping for the best, we've always been prepared when we knew things were on the horizon. And, maybe we'll get really lucky and it won't be this bad, but
We hope.
we hope. But I think it's a good idea for us to have some conversations about, some backup plans. I think that anybody in the community has an idea. We would love to hear it. It doesn't have to be a complete idea. It can be a nugget of an idea. But, I think we all need to kind of decide that this is something we're going to have to tackle together. And this isn't something we woke up and said, oh, this sounds like fun, because I can't begin to tell you how much fun this is not going to be, So we welcome everyone's input, and, we're going to hope for the best, but we're going to be prepared to make sure that that your children don't lose anything.
That's right.
Would we be best served to maybe dedicate a work session to just this topic
I
They
think
will have
we'll-
several.
in October, like to really,
Yeah.
There're gonna be
once
quite
we've
a
got
few.
Yeah.
some, more concrete data,
One
just as
thing-
a starting point, a plan to how to get the word into schools and to parent groups and so forth.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think that we may know a lot more about the federal budget by then.
Right.
And also maybe our transportation study is going to be back, and we can talk a little bit about that and give some ideas.
I appreciate the work you've put into it already. I think this is an excellent summary for us to digest, and I echo the sentiments that we'll need to continue to stay involved and abreast of what we find as we research and study and listen to our constituents within our districts. I do want to say that while this sounds very grim when you were talking about the finances, I think what we have to understand, and I'm going to get slightly political, and that is that from the example that I've been through over the last several years as a physician, healthcare went through tremendous transformation as the Affordable Care Act was passed, and now we're looking at repeal and replace and all these things. But if you'll notice, they're struggling with that as well, because what's really happening, I think, is that economic forces dictate what really happens in these industries. And for healthcare, it doesn't matter who's in power. You might lean conservative or lean to the left or right, and you're going to end up with a little different answer. But the economic policies are often dictated by the economy, which seems to be the issue. So I don't know that it matters who's in power. I think that the budget is only got a fixed amount of money, and our gross national product is slowing down, and we need to be thinking proactively regardless. But more importantly, we've talked about consolidation of schools and other things. I think we need to, in our focus, continue to remember that we're not just reactive to potential cuts, but what's actually best for our students. And the design of the education system from years ago was a design that placed communities, because we didn't have transportation, we didn't have phones, we didn't have running water. and we moved into these things and we had these little schools all throughout, and we struggle sometimes managing buildings that are widely separated and educating staff members that are widely disparate in their needs. We've talked about advantages before to the students, and I think that's where our focus needs to be, is what's best for the students, and then what's best for our workforce. And our workforce are teachers and educators, and the synergy that they can develop when they're together, the resources they can share. But people, by and large, are afraid of change. I'm afraid of it in medicine and have been, and have had to deal with dramatic changes in the way we deliver care. And education and healthcare are really similar. We've moved to metric-based care, where we're looking at outcomes and holding ourselves accountable for outcomes, much like the school districts do. When we have to keep these numbers up for our students. And that's a good thing, because outcomes are truly what matter. But to that end, as we study this, it's not just about $200,000. It's about what's best. And now that everybody has telephones and most people have internet, and everybody has access to a bus, it may make more sense for us to look at how can we do that in a manner that's not only more efficient and therefore generates more dollars, but also is better for our students and creates diversity that we don't currently share to the extent. That's a criticism that we constantly receive on surveys, is the degree of diversity that we have as a system is limited anyway. But when you look within the individual schools, you see significant variations in the amount of diversity that the students themselves and their populations are exposed to, and amongst the teachers, where sometimes our educators themselves have lack of the ability to lean on others and to form those relationships that help them teach better. And administratively, we're challenged often with maintaining different buildings of different ages, and the costs go up and those things. So I think that we owe it to study it, but with this, my focus would not be so grim. This is the reaction to, we know that no matter who's in power, there's going to be budgetary demands, and they're going to be significant, and they may be more significant under a current Secretary of Education's policies and the things that she's stated that she wants to do, which would be very damaging to our school systems. On the other hand, we have a check and a balance where I agree we get politically active. We send our legislators, and not just our state, but our federal. I think we need to work on our federal levels as well, and be proactive about it and band together with other boards, issuing joint resolutions or resolutions that they also do. But we need to make sure that when we do this, that it's going to help our students as a whole. And I think it will if we study it, and it seems to be. I think that has a potential to.
It does, and I think that one of the best things about Elizabethton City Schools is our teachers bind together and make it happen, period. And no matter what configuration, I can say they will come through, period.
That's a great compliment.
They will come through for our kids.
That's a great compliment to our educators.
All right. We ready to get started on this? Okay. Let's do this. All right. First item on the floor on the regular agenda is approve creation of an additional part-time cook position at Elizabethton High School beginning the 2017-2018 school year due to the addition of a third serving line. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second?
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, one of the things that we've been studying and looking at our food service program, and one of the great things about what we're doing there is we're really starting to look at getting some synergy there, and we try to think outside the box a little bit and look at some different things. And we have a successful kitchen. We need a little bit more help, and to make it work well. And this is going to be an opportunity for us to add kind of a grab and go line, and that will help us to really meet the needs of some of the students and also give them a little bit more interaction. So this is we're planning to offer maybe, Ms. Williams, maybe some salads, wraps, those types of things that students could come in, maybe sub sandwiches, and do that for everyone. So we think that that's going to be huge. What do you think, Corey?
I definitely agree.
Yeah. So,
Now that you're leaving, we're, you know.
yeah. But you helped get it going.
That's
so
right.
it's good.
Any questions or comments? All right, item on the floor, approve creation of an additional part-time cook position at Elizabethton High School beginning 2017-2018 school year due to the addition of a third serving line. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve creation of a Spanish 6 through 8 teaching position at T.A. Duggar Junior High School. This will be a change in exploratory class. It is not adding a new teaching position. Can I have a
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This is just reconfiguring a position we already have, but we've had a lot of students have interest in that area, having a foreign language early, so we thought that we would look at their interest and try to make it match what they're interested in. So it's an exploratory class, so we thought that we would do that for this coming year and give it a try.
Any questions or comments? All right. I'm on the floor, approve creation of a Spanish 6 through 8 teaching position at T.A. Duggar Junior High School. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
See.
opposed?
See,
Aye. Sorry.
Motion carries.
This
That
was
a good
getting-
one. That was
It's getting a little boring. I had
Thank
to
you, I like
spice it
that.
up.
All right, we're going to take 8 through 13. So here we go. Item on the floor, approve bid 2017-2018-01-SN, the purchase of bread and grain products from Flowers Bakery for the bid period July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2018. Flowers Bakery was the lowest responsible compliant bid. Approve the renewal of bid 2014-2015-02-SN, the purchase of milk and ice cream products from Mayfield Dairy for the bid period July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2018. Approve renewal of bid 2014-2015-03-SN, the purchase of food products from Cisco Knoxville for the bid period July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2018. Approve the renewal of bid 2014-2015-04-SN, the purchase of miscellaneous cafeteria supplies from Summers Hardware for the bids, yeah, really, bid period, oh, we didn't put those on
These are in consent.
Thank
You don't need to do that.
Oh,
That's why I put those in
I was
consent.
just
someone
thinking.
stopped me earlier.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank
she's still on
you.
Camp Read a lot.
Never mind,
I've
we've
been at
already
Camp
approved
Read a lot. Thank you. That was, you guys are all over this. Ah,
Sorry. We've-
C. That's
Nada.
going to be I was so excited to read these last ones that I was just on a roll. How about we move on to 14? Golly. This is going to be a fun night. Huh?
No, that was
They're
consent.
consent.
We moved those to the consent.
They moved to consent.
They've already been
Yes, I
voted.
just was so excited I wanted to read them all over again. Yes, I know. I always think about all the times that I chuckled at Matt, and now it's coming back.
That was why I wanted them in consent. So you
Thank
didn't have to
you.
read. Nothing personal.
No. Do it more often. Okay, these I actually have to read, so.
Yes.
All right, so next couple, let's see, 14 through 15. Okay, here we go. Approve the recommended price increases for the 2017-2018 school year for Elizabethton High School and T.A. Duggar Junior High School. Approve the agreement to administer the school nutrition programs, a policy statement for providing free and reduced meals students, price meals to students and local agriculture. Products compliance plans for the 2017-2018 school year. Can I get a motion to approve? I think I moved into the second one, I'm sorry. Holy cow. So we stop on local agriculture. Yes, products compliance, yeah, okay.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Item 14.
Okay.
Just general increases, housekeeping.
Yep.
Does anybody has any questions about it? If
Think-
so, Mary Ann's here.
It's
Right.
below the inflation rate, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Item on the floor is to approve the recommended prices increase for the 2017-2018 school year for Elizabethton and T.A. Duggar. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried. Next item, approve purchase of professional learning and mandatory training library from Frontline Education for a total cost of $12,000. This will be paid from Title II funds. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
This is just basically a opportunity. We'll replace the current program that we have, but it gives some more options, so it will help us with training staff on compliance like bloodborne pathogens, anything from that. But it does have some specific areas that include teaching and learning where our other program was very limited. So this, we're kind of going to sub out the cost of the other program to this This is a little bit more expensive. I think it's about $3,000 more expensive, but it is more expansive, and we have more opportunities to meet compliance, especially with work-related training that we have to have everyone do. And so this is a much more robust program.
Any having questions or comments?
You know, we just finished a discussion about how Title II funds may be cut. Are we assuming that we're going to get this money, or do we know we have it?
We know at this point, we know an estimate. If
Mhm.
they're completely cut, then we would come back. We'd probably move that to general purpose dollars, and we would come back and change that back over to that. We'll have a little bit of textbook money left over we could probably use for that. if we
Is
needed
this
to.
a one-time expense?
This will be a total annual cost. It'll be an annual cost. But you think about all we have to do for workplace training.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that we have to have employees do, anything from suicide prevention to just general things for changes in the workplace, those types of things. It has gender equity training. It has things that if we had, let's say that we had an OCR complaint or a violation, they would have the appropriate training, and we could just put teachers on that. If we had sensitivity training, those types of things. So it just has more things that we may need in the future, but it does have some more curriculum things that I think that is going to be beneficial for teachers. And it's easy for them if they're, we won't say this, teachers, if we're in trouble and somebody's non-compliant with getting all their hours in a year, sometimes we have to have a backup to make sure that they can renew their license. The new program should be better, what we have for licensure from the state, but in the past we've had to get pretty creative, so it will help us with that as well.
So you said that if the funding is cut, we can use extra textbook money to make up the shortfall?
We probably could, you know, if we had, after we had purchased everything,
Mhm.
sometimes we have a little bit of money left, but I think $12,000 could be covered there. That's where we would pull it from. Because it's going into training materials for teachers, and that's what we would normally do. Just remember, we probably have to call our legislator on that.
I just remember when the raise to the top funds ran out, that's when the assistants went to part-time because the money wasn't there anymore. So that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that Title II on there.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that every dollar we have goes to teachers or students. So if we have something that leaves, we have to find money to make it, which means that it could be us making a great deal on another something that we need and then using that money, but it's all one pot, and we move it around to make it work to meet the needs of what we have. So that's what we are.
Does this software track so we know who's deficient?
Who's
so
compliant
you're-
and who's not.
Compliance monitoring is part of it.
It is.
And it's, how many employees do we have now?
We have somewhere close to 485 with classified and certified.
Is that including, does this also train
Mhm.
non-professionals like
Does.
bus drivers and?
Yep.
You know.
And there's specific training for bus drivers they have to have.
Right.
And it's just, the program's just been updated to do the new training that we have to have for bus drivers on compliance with bullying and disciplinary issues on the bus, which is another board policy that we're going to cover here in a few minutes.
Clerical staff does that as well, Dr. Moody.
Yeah, clerical staff, yeah.
Right, so that 485 includes that. So we're talking about $25 a head, $24.70 something, to make sure that we've got it covered. I mean,
And the other thing is, we have federal reports and things like that. We have to show compliance.
Mhm.
If we came in and had a serious issue,
Yeah.
we will want to be able to show that we are in compliance.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Item on the floor is to approve purchase of professional learning and mandatory training library from Frontline Education for a total cost of $12,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, approve sports sound indoor audio system purchase for Daktronics for Elizabethton High School Gymnasium for a total of $17,253. This purchase will be made utilizing the TCPN contract pricing. Can I get a motion to approve?
Absolutely.
Can I get a second?
With glee?
Yeah, you can't hear in there.
If you miss Sonny Hunt's muffled voice, this may be the last year if you want to try that out. We put this in the general budget. This was actually passed in the general budget, but specifically for this item, we had money set aside for it, but just approving actually buying it from this company.
I just want to hear a band concert when.
Yes.
We have a microphone that's, in the gym with it
It'll
not
be
echoing and
Graduation.
anything.
What
Wow.
is TCPN?
TCP, it's a Tennessee Cooperative Purchasing Network.
Okay.
It's now, our TCPN is now called U.S. Communities. It's the same thing. So it's a cooperative purchasing network that the state uses. Yeah, they are.
All right. Any other questions or comments? I'm on the
Yeah.
floor. Oh, sorry. go ahead.
Excuse me, in this material, the legislature just passed this law that said certain qualifying districts can raise the bid.
Yeah.
Are we one?
I think any district, it's not going to be, but that's something probably we need to look at next month once we get a little bit more information.
Okay.
And see whether we want to pass that. Right now, it's at $10,000.
Right.
And they're moving it to 25.
They're
so-
gonna raise it to 25.
Yeah, which is pretty nice. I mean,
Mhm.
that would really help us do business, so I think we'll be in favor of that. Next month, we'll have second reading on that, and hopefully
Okay.
be able to do that.
Item on the floor is to approve sports sound indoor audio system purchase for Daktronics for Elizabethton High School Gymnasium for $17,253. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, ratify approval of quotation with Train for repairs to chiller at Harold McCormick Elementary in the amount of $19,060.43 and $1,853.74 for a total of $20,914.17. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second?
And this is just a repair to the chiller. We weren't anticipating this one. It was a catastrophic fail, so thank you for considering ratification of that so we could have air for our ESP program at Harold McCormick.
Okay, any questions or comments? I'm on the floor, ratify approval of quotation with Train for repairs to chiller at Harold McCormick for a total of $20,914.17. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, we're going to take items 18, 19, and 20 as one, and then we can talk about them. Approved contract between ECS and Physical Therapy Services, PA, from 8/1/2017 through 5/31/2022. Approved contract between ECS and Kim Hall from 8/1/2017 to 6/30/2020. Approved contract between ECS and John Angelopoulos, EDD, Human Development Counseling, from 7/1/2017 through 6/30/2020. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
Okay, these are our current providers for occupational physical therapy and for psychological services. These have been vendors that have been with us for more than, I think Ms. Hall's the last person to join us 5 years ago, but Dr. Smith has been with us a long time, as well as Dr. Angelopoulos. They'll just be renewing their contracts for the next couple of years, 3 years.
Anybody have any questions or comments about these? All right. Item on the floor is to approve contract between ECS and Physical Therapy Services, ECS and Kim Hall, and Elizabeth C. Schools, and John Angelopoulos. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we're getting ready to do all the board policies. These, I'm reading 21 through 34. So feel free to play on your phones or do whatever you want to do now. Because here we go. This is why I wear my glasses tonight, not my contacts. All right. Approve first reading of Board Policy 1.407, School District Records as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 2.703 audits as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 3.202 Emergency Preparedness Plan as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 3.400 Student Transportation Management as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 4.210 Credit Recovery as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 4.301 Interscholastic Athletics as proposed. Approve deletion of Board Policy 4.402 Instructional Supplies. State no longer requires a portion of individual teacher instructional supply funds be pooled with all such funds and spent as determined by committee. Under this new law, each teacher will individually be given $200 total and will be able to decide how best to use the full amount. Next, approve first reading of Board Policy 4.600 Grading System as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 4.700 Testing Programs as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 5.200 Separation Practices for Tenured Teachers as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 5.201 Separation Practices for Non-Tenured Teachers as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 5.701 Substitute as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 5.203 Recommendations and File Transfers as proposed. Approve first reading of Board Policy 5.600 Staff Rights and Responsibilities as proposed.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Could you repeat that?
No, I cannot.
Second.
Anybody have any of those that you just want to talk about?
Number 27, are you saying that we're just going to eliminate this paragraph, page 1 of 2, about the $100?
It says approve deletion.
4.404, we're going to delete that down there at the bottom.
Give a
The
second.
principal shall annually appoint a committee of teachers to determine how to spend the pooled amount. We're just going to eliminate that?
That's basically what the new state law reads.
Okay,
And
that's what I
just a
thought.
little bit of a background there. There's been some complaints that it does not happen in our school system, I can say, but money was not getting to teachers to be able to use for certain things, ask for curriculum, and money was not actually flowing to schools, period.
Mhm.
And so this was the way that Governor Haslam received some heat over giving teachers raises, and people thought that money wasn't going to teachers. And so in that whole discussion, this was another thing that they felt was important that they look at. In our system, money is basically we give that money out to the school to be able to do a lot of things for teachers, buy paper, do those types of things that they need. So we'll be in compliance once we change the language in there.
One of the nice things is in our, for information only, we're provided kind of on each policy some of the changes, so that's really helpful. Notice we beefed up emergency preparedness plan and some other things.
Yeah, that's new. We worked on that. We have multi-hazard training in the spring, and we beefed we had to turn that in. It's the first version. The second version, after they have read and looked at that, it will be due in September, and so ours is pretty well finished at this point.
On the one about substitutes, do
Okay.
we have a booklet? It talks about,
Yes, we do.
okay, I've never seen it.
Okay, you check it out. It's
Is
I
it a
think Ms.
fun
Vance
read?
has done quite a bit to go back and revisit that and make it something that's usable.
Mhm.
A nice thing too that happens in our school system is every substitute goes through training, and so prior to moving on to work in the classroom, so she does that as well.
Do I assume that new professional training will be for substitutes as well?
They do
That's what I
have,
thought.
they do, and then we have,
So
we
we're not
do-
factoring that into the number that Dr. May figured at less than $25 per person.
yeah, well, yeah, that's not factored in, but it would. We have probably on tap right now in our program, not saying that we use all, we have about 140 substitutes.
How many?
140.
Wow.
seat.
This last one, number 40, the staff rights and responsibilities,
Okay.
did that one get included in the last group? Did we go up to 40?
Oh, to number agenda item, yes.
In the last group on that, we looked at that and, let's see what board policy number that's.
Well,
Back to my
on
notes.
page 2, it says, it talks about appropriate dress for work according to board guidelines and local school rules. Do we have a dress code for teachers as well as students?
I think that we're pretty, you know, I'll say a ability to go into, and you work in them every day just about, so I think
Yes.
our people are dressed very professionally.
They are. I just didn't know if it was written down somewhere.
We have a teacher handbook that is very old, and we probably need to go back. It could be that they're still wearing bonnets, but what we need to do is we do need to look at that. And I think that generally, you know, our people are very professional, but if
Yes,
we would
they
like to
are.
have a written policy,
Absolutely.
we can look at that. Is there anything, I know that back to the staff's rights and responsibilities, when we look at that, just talking about that, they have added several things in there. If you look at the policy itself, there are about 4 or 5 things.
There's some new
Right.
things.
Yeah, some new things in there. So is there anything specific that you have questions about before we move on?
Well, it says they're not to be required to use their personal money to equip a classroom. But I think
Is that laugh back there?
as a teacher and them, they spend way more than $200.
You didn't know you were coming to a comedy show, did you?
Yeah. I laughed when I saw that.
I did too.
Only teachers know. I mean, you're not required, but if you don't, it's not there.
Anybody else have anything that struck them? Going once? All right. Item on the floor is to approve items 21 through 34 as read. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. And then we had one more added on an addition. Number 35 is to approve the award of bid number FY 217-218-01 for the demolition of grandstands at T.A. Duggar Junior High School to D.H. Griffin Companies in the amount of $88,800. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Based on yesterday's bid opening, this was the lowest compliant bidder. We feel that they have a good timeline. You know, we're looking at probably 30-day timeline, starting somewhere around July 9th and ending August 9th before students are on campus. And we feel like also the asbestos work from that area, it will be done along with air quality that will go on at the same time as you do with asbestos work and removal. One of the questions that we had been asked is about lead-based paint, and we went the extra mile to make sure that we're being compliant by taking it to a special landfill over in Bluntville, and that was a part of the bid specs that we put in place to make sure that we were doing everything. We're not taking the brick and dumping it in a field somewhere, so we want everyone to make sure that they understand we're being compliant. We've applied for all of the certificates that we need in order to abate the asbestos, and we have a compliant company that can service us for that at the same time. Now, what will be left after the grandstand's gone, you know, there's a difference in the elevation that's there. We're going to leave the bottom portion that's there. It's kind of like a little retaining wall, and it will kind of hold the bank back until we have opportunity to move on with the T.A. Duggar project in the future. And we will also put fencing up around that area to make sure we do not have any students fall or any people that are coming on the property be able to fall or get into that area to make sure that it's safe for everyone. So it'll be a 6-foot chain link fence that will be around that part of the property. We're just excited that we have an opportunity to do this. Thanked all of our people that have worked so hard over so many years to try to get this project moving and we consider this as our phase 1 of the T.A. Duggar project, and phase 2 will come behind it as an addition. And we're thankful for City Council for coming earlier to our walkthrough looking at the T.A. Duggar project, and we feel very enthusiastic about what the future might be there.
Well, the field looks great, and the press box looks really good.
It really does, yeah.
It's had its year of jubilee. It's enjoyed a year of rest.
You can tell.
Yeah. That was one tired field, so yeah, it looks great. All right, anybody have any questions or comments on this?
What's the timetable?
Timetable is June 9th to August 9th.
So before students are
July.
basically before
July.
students.
I said June.
I got it. Okay.
So it's July, and we'll be back. The asbestos will be done at the very beginning. That way we would not have any students anywhere near it. We have a dead period for the next couple weeks, and then really starting into that, but we'll definitely keep students away from that area.
All right, anybody else? Last item is to approve the award of bid number FY 2017-2018-01 for demolition of grandstands at T.A. Duggar Junior High School Stadium to D.H. Griffin Companies in the amount of $88,800. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Couple things before we go. Don't forget, if you are wanting to go to the TSBA convention in Nashville, registration opens next month. It runs from Thursday, which is a little different, July 2nd through Sunday, July 5th. So if you want to go, please let Ms. Perkins know. November, what did I say?
July.
Because it's early.
You cut it from
I caught it from you. I've got even here, 11/2. It is in November, so registration opens in July for that. Fall district meeting is going to be September the 18th. I believe it's in Kingsport this year. It would be great to have as many of us there as possible. It's really, they're a lot of fun. You go, you have dinner. Their cafeteria is always really, aimed to impress. They usually have entertainment, and we get a chance to talk about some stuff that's going on in Nashville and some things we need to know about. Plus, it's just neat to spend time with our neighboring school systems. So, boards, sometimes it'd be nice to be a 100% board if possible. So if you can come, please join us. Last year, Susan and Clara and Dr. G and I made the trek up to Mountain City. So
Is that an all-day meeting?
nope, it's just starts. We leave around 4:30, finished after dinner. So I'm not sure which school yet. Do you know which school in Kingsport?
Maybe. Or the Professional Development Center is big enough to handle it.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. So there we go. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Tuesday, July 18, 2017, 6:30 here in the Mac Pierce Boardroom. We will dismiss, and then we're going to re-adjourn and have a workshop. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
You have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Take about a 5-10 minute break, and then we'll do the workshop.
We need to have a break.